Who do you think was the first person in history to imagine the idea that later became the pyramid? It didn't start as a true pyramid, but as a stack of mastabas placed on top of one another. This became what we now call the Step Pyramid, and it was the beginning of the greatest engineering civilization in history. The genius who started it all was Imhotep, the first architect in recorded human history. Imhotep wasn't a king, nor was he from a royal family. He was an ordinary Egyptian whose mind was thousands of years ahead of his time. Before Djoser, kings were buried in mastaba tombs, made mostly of mud brick. Their tombs looked similar to the tombs of the common people, just bigger and more impressive. Then Imhotep arrived, thought outside the box, and transformed everything. His first bold idea was to build an entire mastaba out of limestone, not mud brick. He brought stone from quarries and gave the outer surface a fine white limestone casing from the Torah quarries. This single mastaba was already far more impressive than any royal tomb before it. Beneath it were tunnels and chambers, some of which used granite blocks to form the burial chamber. But Imhotep wasn't satisfied. He realized that Djoser was the king who would guide his people into the afterlife, so his tomb must be unlike any other. It had to rise upward toward the heavens. So he built one mastaba on top of another, each smaller than the one below it, until he created a 60-step pyramid reaching 62 meters high, the largest stone structure humanity had ever seen at that time. He surrounded the pyramid with a massive limestone enclosure, wall 10 meters high. Inside the complex, he built ceremonial buildings, including structures for the king's Hebsed festival, symbolic tombs, and chapels. Imhotep wasn't just Djoser's architect, he was the overseer of royal works, administrator of the palace, and the first after the king. He governed a province and excelled in several fields. He was a master architect, sculptor, physician, and scholar of wisdom. His medical knowledge impressed later civilizations so much that the Greeks identified him with Asclepius, their god of medicine. After his death, Egyptians built temples for him. He became worshipped as a divine son of Ptah, especially in the Persian and Ptolemaic periods. When Egyptians insisted on preserving the greatness of their own civilization, one of the greatest honors Imhotep ever received was unique in Egyptian history. His name was carved on the base of Djoser's statue at Saqqara, a privilege no other non-royal person ever earned. Usually, only the king's name appears on a royal statue, but Djoser allowed Imhotep's name to stand beside his own. It was the king's way of saying, "You are not just a vizier, you are my partner in the greatness we built." Imhotep, a man from ordinary origins, reached a position that no one before him or after him ever reached. His name lived on not because he was a minister, but because he represented the Egyptian mind, the mind that could turn a dream into eternal stone. So, when you visit Saqqara and stand before the Step Pyramid, remember, you're not just looking at a royal tomb. You're looking at the first architectural experiment in human history, created by a genius whose legacy survived 4,500 years. Imhotep, the man who built glory with stone, and whose name still lives because of his knowledge.